This is the Hope Not Nope podcast,
where we answer your questions and share inspirational stories to fill your soul with hope.
Our mission is to empower hope to those who have been plagued by nope.
I'm Dr. Dylan Caswell.
And I'm Brandy.
And we're here to bring you out of the nope and into hope.
Welcome to the next episode of the Hope Not Nope podcast, and happy summer. We hope that you have been enjoying the summertime and that the sunshine is just pouring out on you. If you are new to this episode, or if you haven't listened to our past episode, we're actually in the process of currently switching up our gym, our studio space, and all of that. And my hope story actually is kind of related to just that. And so I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. So in the process of this move and our transition with our studio and all of the exciting things, we are in search of a specific type of floor mat for our gym. And it's been a whole saga. We called 20 to 30 different of this one company trying to find this specific mat. We heard yes, we heard the yes. We ended up driving 2 hours to go find this mat because the person on the phone told us that they had 20 in stock. And we were so excited, and we get there and they had 3 in stock. And so then we called a neighboring one and they said, oh yeah, we have 35 in stock. So we drive 30 extra minutes and they had 0 in stock and they were looking at the wrong mat. And so it was just this whole chaos and saga, and we ended up getting them online and we're going to pick them up soon and everything's going to be fine. But the reason I want to share this hope story is, one, it's a story of perseverance. Because we got to a point where we were like, okay, we can just give up and get a different type of mat, but we've already put in so many hours of calling and traveling and going into these specific stores. So like, do we give up now or do we keep persevering? And we chose to persevere. But I also want to share that this 2.5 hour drive that we had to go and get only 3 mats and not the 12 or 13 that we were looking for, we ended up driving past this pizza shop in the quite literal middle of nowhere. And we love pizza. We're Italian Americans, so anytime we see a pizza shop, we want to go get slices. Like this is a thing. Like we eat pizza probably once a week. We make it typically. We don't always order out, but I digress. Anyways, we stop at this pizza shop and we walk in. We're the only ones there. It's midday, and the person who greets us has this thick, joyful, kind of Mario sounding accent, and was like, hi, how are you? And just so excited. I wish I could like impersonate the accent.
I was gonna ask if that was your accent.
No. I wish I could impersonate it, but he was so excited that we were there and we were just gonna order slices. But he was like, oh, if you're getting 2 slices each, then you need to just get a medium pizza. It'll only be 10 minutes. And like, it was just this whole thing. So we ended up getting a medium pizza, and he was like, but wait outside. I will bring it to you. Just wait outside. So as we were waiting outside, we noticed that in the back of the building, there was a garden. And I noticed like tomato plants and basil and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, they create their own sauce, like from their garden in the back of the pizza shop. What are we about to eat? And so we got this pizza, and let me tell you, like, it was just a classic cheese pizza, but the cheese, I felt like they had cows in the back that they got the mozzarella from. The sauce was just so good, and it was the perfect like sweetness, but tomato and the seasoning was so good. And we hadn't eaten in like 8 hours, and so maybe we were definitely like a little biased and anything would have been good. But at the same time, now we're trying to think of excuses to drive to that random town so we can have this slice of pizza again. So not only did we get the mats, we ordered them online, but we ended up getting the mats. We persevered and we got a really good slice of pizza. And I don't know if there's anything more hopeful than a good slice pizza.
And I will say to that, the name of the shop, free promotion. They have no affiliation with this podcast whatsoever, because our goal is to just always keep this free and limited. Fratello's Pizzas. So good. And even if the pizza wasn't as good as it was, I think we would still go back there because of how passionate and how joyful this man was in customer service and making sure that we were taken care of. And as Brandy said, he's like, I'll bring this pizza out to you. And we were like, we could just sit and wait for it. But he was so excited about making this pizza and then walking it to our car that he wanted us to be outside so that he could just bring it to us. And he brings it to us, and he opens it, and he's like, this is good pizza. We're like, probably. Like, looks good, but we got to taste it. Like, I love pizza. And how do you know it's a good pizza? You only get a cheese pizza.
Mm-hmm.
If you start putting toppings on it, any pizza loaded with toppings can be good, but how do you know it's a good pizza? You just do cheese, so you can taste the sauce and the crust, and it was phenomenal. And my nephew, he plays baseball, and from the time he was younger, I have nicknamed him in baseball the Great Formaggio, which means the great cheese. And in that day, we were pretty stressed out and persevering because we also need to borrow my dad's truck to go get the mats, and there was a lot of extra time that took time out of other parts of the day, but Brandy really brought in good perspective and was like, it's a great day. We got to spend it together. We got really good pizza. And hey, we got 3 mats. But also, the mozzarella cheese on this pizza was so fresh. And right around that time, Brandy introduced me to a video that she found on Instagram that was basically the cheese song. And not the cheese tax, like the dog paying the cheese tax and wagging their tails all excited, but a teacher teaching the students the Italian cheeses. And I think we should give them a little bit.
Go ahead.
Mozzarella.
Mozzarella.
Parmigiana.
Parmigiano.
And then it keeps going on. Stracciatelli. And it gets into all these other cheeses, but it was so good. And he drinks espresso at the end.
It was beautiful.
So then
I don't even know what his handle is. I wish we could give him a shout out.
I know. But then we got a new walk-up song for my nephew to use when he steps up to the plate as the Great Formaggio. Yeah. I don't know if he was impressed, as we were about it.
We were.
But phenomenal pizza. Love that story. And it's just the perseverance. It almost became competitive of like, no, we're going to find those mats now.
Yeah.
Like we're going to make this happen.
Well, I think that often like our hope stories are about like a cool fitness thing that happened, or a really cool like person that we encountered, or we read this book or whatever. And I think that this one was just like, this was a gritty hope story, and we got a great pizza and met a really cool guy out of it. And like, sometimes that's how simple the hope stories are. It's finding the perspective in the midst of like just grittiness and like wanting to give up and like almost being annoyed that you've put in all this work and it's just like leaving you at 0 still. But we didn't get 0. We got 3 mats out of it. Then we ordered some online. We got to have a whole day together. Great pizza. It was good. It was good. Great way to start summer.
It's a great story of happiness, and persevering is really a choice, as well as ordering good pizza. That's a choice.
Yeah. One thing that is not allowed, according to Dylan, I've never had it, but you're not allowed to put pineapple on pizza. So sorry if you do, because it's not allowed anymore.
And that's one of the reasons that I loved the video that Brandy shared with me about this guy teaching the Italian cheeses to his class. Is there's another one about pizza. And in the video, he specifically said, and we do not put pineapple on the pizza, right, kids? And the kids said, no. It's like, yes.
Exactly.
This guy needs to educate the world.
If you are a pineapple on pizza fan, please DM us, because we would love to have this debate with you. Do you have a hope story outside of this one?
Well, on the pineapple pizza situation, and then we'll get into the hope story, I would love to have the conversation as to why. Like the Hawaiian pizza, like ham and pineapple, I just don't understand it. I think it's because I love pizza so much, and I love like a good classic Italian pizza, that the pineapple and the ham, they just take away from it.
Yeah.
But I'd love to have an open and honest conversation, an open debate where I'm not going to come at you, and hopefully you won't come at me. I just want to have more understanding of that choice.
Yeah, and I will say, if you were to have this debate, what you will not do is try the slice of pizza. Like if you were having the debate and you were like, okay, but try this pizza versus try the pineapple ham pizza, you wouldn't. Like there's something inside of you that you're like, I will not even taste that.
You got to stand for something, or you're fall for everything. And that's one of the things that I stand for, is no pineapple on the pizza.
Fair enough.
So my hope story, one of our, two of our friends that are very near and dear to us got married. And they got married at a resort in Mexico. It was a beautiful wedding. And there's just all these phenomenal moments around it. But one that really stuck out to me is that we share a special relationship with this couple and with this family. And this couple has been through a lot of adversity in a very short period of time. We talk about in the book, adversity comes, but when you have that space in between to recover from it, then you're able to get to that aspect of hope. And it's hard when these nopes line up and there's not enough time in between the avalanches to recover. And these two have just faced so much adversity, but it was just incredible to watch them come together. And the night before the actual ceremony, it was just like a meet and greet cocktail hour type of thing for everyone that was traveling to get together and just catch up a little bit. And the groom, again, special relationship with his whole family, and his mother passed away previously. And the father of the groom came up to me during the cocktail hour, and he's a very, very interesting individual that we love. And he's his authentic self. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, this guy's off the script. And like, there's never been a script written for this guy. Like, he is incredible. He's so hysterical. He's just a great guy to be around. Mm-hmm. And he shared this moment with me of he was cleaning out his wife, who was a groom's mom, a closet. And her last year of life, she was battling brain cancer. She kept a gratitude box of all the things that she was grateful for. And he just wanted me to know that the hope that I had given her and working with her, that made it into her gratitude box. Mm-hmm. And it was just such a hard moment with all these people around and everyone's, oh, how's it going? What are you guys up to? To know that he specifically wanted to share that with me, because she shares a very special place in my heart. Yeah. So it was just so special to have that.
That whole trip was so beautiful to just share in the love. I think when people go through such adversity, but you can see the joy that still surrounds them in the midst of adversity, it changes your perspective and it keeps your perspective. And so knowing that they got married, 11 months after she had passed away, and getting to experience that moment that you had with her husband, but then also just like experiencing them getting married and the people, like everyone knows the stories that they've gone through, because the wedding, there was less than 70 people there. And so it was the closest people that have journeyed with them through this suffering and through this nope. So it was so heartwarming and so beautiful to experience. And it's very humbling to get to experience such closeness with people.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, what a great trip, what a great time, and what great people. All right, let's dive into our questions. Our first question is from a listener named Casey, and they ask, what do you suggest doing to stay exercising in the midst of having a very busy summer schedule?
What a great question. And I think a lot of people can relate to that the summer is busy. If you have a family, kids are back from school, so the days are kind of changed around. It's just more busy. There's vacation, there's summer camps, there's obligations. I know for us, a lot of our family members actually have their birthdays in the summer. So it's like almost every weekend is planned already for us because of family birthdays. Mm-hmm. So you're just constantly on the go. And I think the first thing I want to say to this point is to, yes, stay disciplined in your exercise through the summer, but give yourself some grace. Because the reality is you're probably up and doing much more than what you were doing, especially if you're in through the winter in upstate New York, like we go through. You get to the summer, like my body is still adjusting to the heat that we have. We're doing this podcast and I'm sweating just because of the heat, because guess what? A few months ago, it was 20 degrees and 15 degrees. And now it's like high 80s with humidity. So barely doing anything through the day. You're just sweating the whole day. And it gives you this perception that you don't have energy and that you can't go do it. I just splash myself with cold water, reset, and then realize like, oh, I can go and do these things. Mm-hmm. So give yourself grace in the point that you are adapting to the new threshold of heat that we have for 3 or 4 months, and then it starts to calm down. The other thing that we've done with a lot of clients that we work with that have these crazy busy summer schedules, and not so much work-wise, but just family-wise and obligations and kiddos, is yes, there's a lot of summer tournaments, there's a lot of games, there's a lot of things going on. we have to get creative. And part of that creativity is going, realistically, let's look at your day in your calendar and see, can you add on time for exercise? And most of the time, the answer honestly is no. I don't have any extra time to do that because I need to work extra at work in order to get out, in order to do these things. So then we have to look at, okay, let's get creative in your day. How long are you at the baseball field? How long are you at the soccer stadium? Well, I'm at the baseball field for 2 hours. I'm at the soccer stadium for 2.5, 3 hours. It's a tournament. I'm there the entire weekend. Okay, I know you want to watch your kid play. How big is the stadium? Can you walk around it and still be able to watch the game? Oh, wait, yeah, I can. Okay, now we're not adding more time onto your day, your already busy schedule. We're using what you already have available and just becoming more creative about it. So instead of just sitting in the bleachers, let's do laps around the field, not even running, just walking. And you can still watch the game, you can still see what's going on, but you're getting in steps, you're staying active, you're staying disciplined, you're keeping that value moving forward. You want to take it to the next step, you can throw some squats in there, you can throw some lunges in there, you can do some shuttle runs in between the game. There's these little things that you can use what you already have in order to keep that needle moving forward when you feel like it's really difficult for me to get a structured exercise program in because of the craziness of the summer.
Yeah, and we've talked about in previous episodes taking snack breaks if you're more of like a office worker. Like if you have the schedule that Dylan explained where you're working in the office most of the day, you're putting in extra time because you have to go to your kids' games or what have you. If you have like a typical office job or whatever, set a reminder on your phone. I don't know what like the recommendation would be, but set a reminder on your phone a few times a day at least, and go refill your water bottle, and when you're doing that, do lunges on the way or do some sort of movement. Like get yourself moving in a simple way throughout the day while you're also in the office work. We call that snack breaks, right? Like I think that goes a lot further than people realize. And I know in my experience when I was working at my previous job, like if people were getting tired and we had the environment where if people were getting tired or distracted, or like you even saw them like wanting to take a nap or something like that, like I would rally the troops or someone else would rally the troops and we would literally like go for a jog around the outside of the building. Or I would say, all right, everyone do 10 burpees right now. Like we would get people moving because it's good to have like that little jolt midday as well. And so I agree. I love the idea of, walking around at a baseball game, but also if you're just like in the office as well, I think that that's a good thing too. Oh, I also want to add another thing. Don't be afraid to hesitate, or don't, sorry, I think I phrased that wrong, but don't hesitate to take advantage of working out in an airport as well. Like I have done push-ups, squats, lunges, like full body workouts waiting for planes. And so if your busy schedule is not because like you have kids playing sports, but because you're traveling and you're in airports a lot, you're there probably 2 hours early, if not more. And what are you going to do? Sit around on your phone or scroll and go watch a sport like on the screen, or go drink or eat at food, whatever. Like all those things are cool, but like you could also like get in a 30-minute workout if you're there so early.
Right. And I know the question that comes up with that is, what if people are watching me do
Who cares?
that? And it comes down to, great, set the example. If you're lunging to the water fountain, people may be like, just walk. But internally they're like, oh, maybe I'll start lunging. And all of a sudden you can set the culture of it. And it's okay to be a little weird. I was in the airport doing handstands as the pilot was pulling up, and I'm like, I wonder if the pilot can see these handstands. I'm gonna hold it so that the pilot can see it.
Yeah.
And granted, like there's thousands of people that are probably looking over like, what the heck is this guy doing? But internally they're going, wow, good for this guy.
Yeah.
He's finding a way to stay active in a busy schedule. Airports are great for Bulgarian split squats. Like they got like the perfect height to put your back foot on and get into those squats. But I think in the summer and anytime that you're busy, it's consistency is the key. Consistency. You have to do a little bit of something to keep moving forward, and don't beat yourself up if you didn't get that full session in, but be excited that, hey, I didn't get an hour structured exercise program in. but I walked a lot at the baseball game. I got my steps up, and that was something.
Yeah.
Something is better than nothing.
100%. Our next question is from Miles, and they ask, do you have any recommendations for helping my chronic headaches?
So chronic headaches are a difficult subject to talk about because a lot of different reasons can bring them on. A lot of different triggers can bring them on. There's different distributions of chronic headaches. But I will say the thing that I have found to be the pattern amongst chronic headaches is that the person is being triggered, living in fear, overwhelmed, and a lot of stress. Because we talk about a ram's horn distribution with chronic headaches, and basically it's from the back of the head, it wraps up through this part of the head and then kind of circles back almost to like behind the ear. So if you imagine a ram horn on the head, think of the Los Angeles Rams football helmet, and then just take the helmet away and put that logo on the head. That's the Rams distribution of chronic headaches. And again, there's different types of headaches and migraines and stuff like that. But generally what we see is that the person is triggered by something. Something in their reality is triggering them into a fear, fight, flight type of response. And when that happens, the body intuitively, the brain says to the body intuitively, it's time to protect. And for it to protect, it says, yeah, we should probably make these muscles pretty tight because we have these jugular veins that come down through here, and this is a kill spot. So let me protect that by getting into this area. And then in doing that, as these muscles stay tight over time, muscles don't like to be in a shortened position over lengths in periods of time. So we start to get these signalings and other things that are representing this distribution from the neural pattern from these muscles tightening down. So there's a lot of different things we can do to decrease that tension in the short term, but long term, we have to look at your internal load and what you're taking on and what trigger is bringing that on, and why are you living in fear and feeling like you need to protect when we can get back to a safety type position. One quick story of a person that I was working with is, actually I'm going to share two stories. One story had to do with chopping. Anytime that this individual wanted to chop, like cutting food up on the cutting board, and she worked a job at a university in which she was in the kitchen, one of the head chefs, and she was constantly chopping. And if you've ever worked a kitchen job, you want to talk about stressful. You're always on a clock. There's always a quota that you need to hit. There's always things going all over the place, and it's a crazy environment. But anytime she was chopping, I said, well, when you're chopping, what are you thinking? And she's like, I do not like chopping. I wish I could pass it off. I do not like doing this. I'm like, okay, so she doesn't like the activity that she's doing. She doesn't see the point or the purpose in it. The other thing she's doing as she's doing that is she's clenching her jaw and tightening her shoulders to chop. And now, mind you, she's doing that 2 to 3 hours a day for prep. That adds up over time. So part of the solution was we had to change the perspective of the chopping, and we had to teach her to relax a little bit and only create tension where you need tension in order to do that chopping exercise. Some of the people I work with in the military, my neck hurts when I go to do this type of movement. Yeah, because you're creating a bunch of tension in that area that's not needed to do that. Create the tension where the tension is needed to be created. And another person I'll share quickly that had chronic headaches, she was a individual that suffered a concussion and then had post-concussive symptoms. So typically a concussion, you heal within 7 to 10 days. Symptoms that last after that now become more of a post-concussive type of syndrome, where the treatment becomes now graded exposure to get the individual back. And there's a lot of other nuances that go into it, but just generally it's graded exposure to get the person back, whether it's visually or with their hearing or with the vestibular system, with the cardiovascular system, all these little wrinkles into it. But one of her fears was that she was not going to be able to participate as a college student again because she wasn't able to sit through a class, because her trigger was when she was hearing things. Her body and her brain would say it's time to protect, and then when it protects, she'd clench up, and then when she'd clench up after a while, it'd start to develop a headache. So her biggest fear was that she was not going to be able to be a student. If she's not be able to a student, then she wouldn't be able to pursue the career that she set out to pursue. So we very much had to work on that of limiting the stimulation of auditory when she didn't need it, right? So we said create tension where you need the tension. Well, right now you have a threshold of being able to take in auditory information. If you take in too much, you're triggered into this cycle of tightening and then the headache. So let's grade how much auditory info you're taking in. Meaning, when you're walking to class, maybe we don't put the headphones in. Maybe we're not listening to music or a podcast on the way to class, so that when you get to class, you're a little bit more fresh and can take that on. Maybe you limit some unnecessary conversations that you're having amongst roommates or this or that, and you just make each one more purposeful until you've built up capacity to take on more of that threshold. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different recommendations to help with chronic headaches that get down to that particular person and what's triggering it, and what part of the sensory system is that trigger coming in through, and then how do we change that output. But I will say that the chronic headache is an output. Mm-hmm. So if we can find out how we change that input, it's going to change the output. Mm-hmm. You may feel like you're stuck with migraines or with chronic headaches, and you're not. There's a lot of really great work that can be done that you don't have to live with those headaches over and over and over again. Are headaches going to be gone for all of us forever? No. Mm-mm. They're going to come up. It's just like the prediction of pain. Like, our goal is to not get rid of pain forever, but to better understand why that output is occurring. It's the same thing for a headache.
Mm-hmm. I want to reiterate like what you said at the end there, that like you don't have to be stuck with chronic headaches. I often, whenever I hear like chronic headache, chronic pain, chronic illness, whatever, I'm always like, oh, that means that the person probably feels stuck there. And it breaks my heart, because like you really are not stuck there. And it makes me ask, like, what can be changed and how can you better adapt? Like, if your mindset is that you are stuck there, I challenge you gently and kindly, like, how can I better adapt in this situation? Because I know a lot of people who have chronic headaches, but they're not trying to change because they feel stuck. And so let me just say it 500 more times, like, you're not stuck here, you can make a change, and there is hope, right?
Yeah, and one little small recommendation that I'm going to add in there: drink some water.
Yeah.
Like, get yourself hydrated. Mm-hmm. And how do you know that you're hydrated? We've talked about it on previous episodes. There's ways you can look at it. One is just looking at your urine and seeing what color is this. A lot of people, I drank water, I had 3 coffees, 2 teas, and a soda, and there's water in that, so I'm good. No, like, your urine is neon yellow. Mm. You need hydration, and there is some research showing that the hydration, being hydrated and limiting headaches is a good thing, right? So sometimes the input that needs to be changed for the output is just getting some more water into your system.
For sure.
And then all of the other more complex things that we talked about.
Yeah, of course. Our next question is from a listener named John, and he asks, how do you find good mentors in your life?
John, great question. And I'm pumped that you're asking that, because that means that you're likely looking for a mentor or you want mentorship. And it takes leadership, and which to have leadership, you have to have humility to recognize that we all need mentors. I have multiple mentors. Brandy has multiple mentors. And they didn't happen overnight. They happened by one being in the arena, doing research and figuring out what is it that I want to learn from this person, and then building up the courage to go and ask them. So I think the biggest thing I would say is, if you're looking for a mentor and finding a good mentor in your life, do not be afraid to ask that mentor. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also okay to realize that you have different mentors in different areas of your life. In the field of performance, for me, I have mentors that I go to for workload. Tim Gabbett. I have, if I'm working with a baseball player and there's a question I have, one of my buddies works with the New York Mets, so I go to him for that because that's the area that he specializes in. So that's my mentorship. But these mentors, I know when I'm reaching out to them, and I know why I'm reaching out to them, because we have done the groundwork before reaching out. And I will say that there is a good way and then a great way to reach out to a mentor. The good way is to reach out and have the courage to just say, hey, I need some help. The great way is to say, hey, I'm looking to improve upon this thing, whatever it is that you want to improve upon. I followed your work and I understand your take on it, and I really, really align with that. There's nothing more that I would want than to be mentored by you, but I just have a couple of questions that I want to ask. Mm-hmm. And I will say, when I was a quote unquote young student, I'm always a student, but first coming out of school, it can be intimidating to reach out to people. But when you know their work and you can ask them that question and they can look at it and go, I know that you know my work because of how you asked that question, which means we're going to have better conversations with a mentor-mentee relationship. That person gets excited to want to be a mentor. Because the reality is, as much as we want to be mentored, we also need to have mentees. Because that's where we get to pass on the knowledge to the next generation. So I think for anyone out there, it's safe to say, yeah, you need to find a good mentor, but you also should be menteeing, or you should be mentoring somebody. Like, you should be a mentee and a mentor. There's a lot of great people that have phenomenal wisdom that they get to pass to us, and then we get to pass it to the next people. And that's why we're doing this podcast. This is why we wrote the book. This is why we did the YouTube channel and social media, is that we're getting this info from really great people, from my mentors. And the worst thing that we could do with that info is hang on to it for our own good. We want to give it out to people so that each person can kind of find their way and reach the goals that they have. So I think those would be the main things. And then I would just say, a lot of times this isn't necessarily what's given in science, but I'm going to say, trust your gut. You know when you have a good mentor. You know when that relationship maybe was for a season and you're on to the next season, and you always respect that person and are grateful for the info that they gave you in that season. But as you grow, you may need to grow and have a different mentor. And that's completely fine. There's lifelong mentors that Brandy and I both have, our go-to people. And then we have different mentors in different avenues of our life, our spiritual mentors, our relationship mentors, for me in the profession, performance ones, baseball ones, football ones, hockey ones, like all this group. It just shows that we need a community and a network of mentors. And those lifelong ones, like, invest into it. And we joke around a lot of times that when we have dinner with friends, a lot of times it's our mentors that are like 30, 40 years older than us, that are just sharing their life experiences. And I think we need that more than ever, of just younger people going to the older people and saying, hey, I know you don't have all the answers, but you have a lot of lived experiences, and I want to learn from those lived experiences. At some point in my life, I might be able to reflect back on it and go, oh, I remember that little piece of info that they gave me. Anything you would add on?
Well, there was so much I was going to add, and then you just said a lot of it.
I got excited. Yeah. I love mentors and menteeing. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think simply, I agree completely. I think simply put, when you're looking for a mentor and to find a good mentor, ask yourself, is it for a specific subject, or is it for like my life in general? Because I have a few women who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are more of like general life mentors, who I seek wisdom when I'm struggling relationally, or I seek wisdom when with multiple different subjects, because they have so many years on me, and they have had spouses, they have children, they've worked in different fields, and so they know a lot, generally speaking. So there's that, but then there's also, like Dylan had mentioned, within your field or within like a specific topic, like, is it baseball, or maybe you're looking for a realtor mentor or an accounting mentor, or like something of that sense. So in your search of finding a good mentor, first ask yourself, is it like for life general, or is it for a specific topic? And if you're looking and you're like, I have no idea who I have, ask, like, you could either one, do what Dylan said, which is know people's work in that specific subject. So that would be more so like literally Googling and researching, or ask your peers, because odds are you probably have peers who have similar interests, who have greater connections. I know for me, I gained a mentor in my life, and they're more of like a spiritual mentor, but I gained this mentor because I asked somebody if they knew someone, and they didn't know someone, but they knew of an organization that had people. So then I reached out to this organization, and that organization ended up like 7 months later connecting me with this woman who I already knew. And if I would have just asked her, but I was nervous to ask her because I figured she had a busy schedule. But had I just asked her 7 months prior, rather than asking another person who connected me to the organization that ended up connecting me to this person, I would have had 7 additional months in spiritual mentorship. But instead, I was like nervous to ask, and so I asked a friend, and they connected me to this person and this person and this person and this person, and then I got to this person. But know that like people for the most part want to be helpful and they want to create the space for you, but sometimes that's not going to be like, don't expect your mentor to be there for you every single day or even once a week. I think once a month is a very generous mentor, but it could be a check-in once every 6 months or a check-in per topic. And so I love talking about mentors. Like we could talk about mentors all day, but this is just a little tidbit and maybe we'll talk more about it in the future.
Yeah, and last part is be a good mentee. Once you are able to have that conversation. That mentor, they probably got a lot going on similar to what you do, but you're coming in with specific questions, geared questions. And yes, there's time to just catch up with each other and get to know each other a bit more. But when you come in with these specific questions, you show that you took the responsibility, you took that next step, they are going to reciprocate that effort because they see how valuable it is to you because of the work that you've put into it. And then as a mentee, you have to be open for feedback because a good mentor will not tell you what you want to hear. They will tell you what you need to hear. And oftentimes when you hear what you need to hear versus what you want to hear, it is pretty difficult to take that wisdom. Later on, it makes sense, but you have to be a good mentee and take that and go, dang, that's how good of a leader that they are, that they're willing to kind of call me out on some areas that I was maybe not seeing or was not aware of.
I love it. Oh, I want to keep talking, but we should go. So, John, we hope that this advice helps you in finding a good mentor, but all of our listeners, we hope that you consider asking yourself and reflecting, do I have the right mentors in my life or should I go and seek other ones? And the odds are, like, I don't want to say you have to go seek other ones, but if you don't have a mentor, we definitely recommend you seeking one because you are worthy of continued development and intentional, like one-on-one time. And that's what mentorship allows you to do. So we hope that is helpful. So we hope that this entire episode was good for you and that you enjoyed it. We love podcasting. We love sharing these episodes, and we hope that you enjoy the summertime and that you're listening in the midst of the summer. And please rate, like, and review and share. All of the ways that you interact with us really helps spread this message to more and more people.
Yeah, more people walking. It'll be funny to see like a soccer tournament and no one's sitting in the stands because everyone's walking laps around the field. Like as a player, I just realized how confusing that may be, but that could be fun. I saw one lower level football club for our listeners in the United Kingdom, also known as soccer. And they're having trouble scoring, so the fans all had arrows and they would run towards the goal and point at the goal of like, this is where you kick. So
that's awesome.
There's some fun ways, I guess, that you can stay active at games, maybe not at like youth camps of like, this is the goal, shoot this way. But just have fun, get some steps in, stay consistent, establish that discipline, give yourself some grace during the busy times that something is better than nothing. Have a great week. And remember, every day is not just a day to be hopeful. It's an opportunity to become hope.